If you had a few quiet hours in the middle of the day, how would you spend them? For me, it's making something with my own hands and sharing that little happiness with others. Hello everyone, I'm Minh, but you can also call me Lina. Even though I'm retired, I still work at a small plywood workshop not far from my home. Summers in northern Vietnam can be extremely hot. That's why we usually start work early in the morning and take a longer break around midday before the heat becomes too intense. And the work here is physically demanding, so I've come to treasure this quiet break in the middle of the day more than ever. Today, I want to go home and make a batch of traditional Vietnamese peanut candy. It's been quite a while since I last made it. Peanut candy is one of those simple treats that almost every child growing up in rural Vietnam knew well. It isn't fancy or expensive, but for many of us, it's a sweet reminder of childhood. These peanuts came from my little garden. I harvested them about a month ago and dried them in the sun. Even after they're dry, I still put them back in the sunshine whenever the weather is nice. It helps keep them dry naturally, so they'll last longer. I only shell what I need for today. The rest stays in its shell until I need it. That's how my mother used to store peanuts, and I've kept that habit ever since. There is something deeply comforting about growing your own food, harvesting it, and preparing it little by little with your own hands. Here in rural Vietnam, many families grow their own peanuts. After the harvest, some are sold at the local market, while the rest are carefully stored at home. We use them for cooking, making peanut oil, saving seeds for the next season, or turning them into simple homemade sweets to share with family and neighbors. That smells just right. And while they cool, I'll prepare the rest of the ingredients. I love the smell of toasted sesame. As soon as it hits the warm peanuts, the whole kitchen smells wonderful. It also balances the sweetness and makes the candy even more delicious. Before making the syrup, I roast a little rice flour. It takes more time than using store-bought flour, but I still prefer doing it this way. I enjoy sitting quietly by the wood stove, watching the rice slowly turn golden and listening to its gentle crackling. The warm, nutty aroma fills the air, somehow making the whole space feel even cozier. Once the rice has cooled a little, it's ready to be ground, just the way my mother used to do it. It isn't difficult, but it does take a little patience. Then I sift it until the powder is fine and smooth. I always enjoy this quiet part. There's no need to rush. Oh, I almost forgot the banana leaf. The banana trees in my garden have grown well, and a few of the leaves are just the right age. I'll cut one to use later. It will come in very handy for the final step. I wash it clean, dry it well, then pass it quickly over the fire. That makes the leaf softer, stronger, and less likely to tear. Now comes the part that takes the most patience. I use raw cane sugar because it has a richer sugarcane flavor. Gives the candy a beautiful golden color, and most importantly, it's a healthier choice. Even though I've made this many times, I still get a little nervous whenever I cook the sugar. If it's overcooked or taken off the heat too soon, the candy won't turn out right. I always prepare the banana leaf this way. The roasted rice powder keeps the candy from sticking, and the toasted sesame leaves a wonderful aroma all around it. While it's still warm, I gently spread it out before it begins to harden. Once it's cool enough to handle, I cut it into small pieces while it's still warm. That's the way I've always done it. When I was growing up, we didn't expect expensive gifts. If my mother came home from the market with a few pieces of peanut candy or a stick of sugar cane, that was enough to make us happy for the whole day. Rainy days often brought our family together. We'd sit side by side shelling peanuts, talking about little things while corn, sweet potatoes, or cassava slowly cooked on the stove. There were no televisions, no phones, and no computers to keep us busy. We only had each other, and somehow that was enough. I made a little more than usual today. I'll keep some at home to enjoy over the next few days, and I'd like to share the rest with my neighbors. This afternoon, I'll also bring a box to work for my coworkers. They've always been kind to me, and this is a simple way to thank them. I was in a hurry this morning, so I couldn't feed the chickens before leaving for work. They've been waiting for me. I usually rotate what I feed them. Some days it's boiled grains, other days homemade rice bran, and today they're having pellet feed. I find a little variety keeps them healthy and growing well. About 10 years ago, this part of my garden was filled with tea bushes. Later, I decided to grow other crops instead, so I kept just a few old tea plants around the house for fresh tea. They've been here through many seasons, with very little care, yet every year they still give me fresh, tender leaves. I'll leave them soaking in clean water for now and make some fresh tea when I get home. In rural Vietnam, many families still take a short rest after lunch. I think now is a good time to stop by and visit my neighbors. Sharing homemade food with neighbors has always been a part of life here in rural Vietnam. It's a simple way to stay connected and let each other know we care. We have an old saying, a nearby neighbor is better than a distant relative. Is there a tradition like this where you live? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. One of the things I treasure most about village life is that no one ever feels like a stranger. A short walk, a simple homemade gift, and a few minutes to ask how someone is doing can bring people a little closer. There's still a little time before I head back to work, so I'll make myself a pot of fresh tea using the leaves I picked from the garden earlier. A fresh tea has a gentle bitterness that I never get tired of. And when I enjoy it with homemade peanut candy, they seem to bring out the best in each other. of the slight bitterness of the tea blends beautifully with the sweet, nutty flavor of the candy. Somehow, every sip and every bite takes me right back to my childhood. Just a few quiet minutes like this are enough to make me feel refreshed before heading back to work. There's still some work to finish this afternoon, so it's time to head back to the workshop. I'll bring a few pieces of the peanut candy I just made to share with my coworkers. Small moments like these make even an ordinary day feel a little warmer. The work here can be physically demanding, but we have the freedom to manage our own time. If I take a longer break like today, I simply finish the rest of my work afterward. It lets me take care of life outside of work too, and that's something I truly value. The rest of the afternoon passed quietly. Once I got back to work, time seemed to move a little faster. It's getting quite late now, and I'm starting to feel the day's work in my arms and legs. Let's head home together. This has become one of my favorite ways to end a long day. Warm water, a little ginger, and a handful of salt are enough to help my tired feet relax. After a long day, this simple dinner is more than enough for me. Tonight, I'm having rice porridge cooked with millet and lotus seeds. along with a few pieces of leftover braised pork. I've watched a few health programs over the years, and that's where I learned that millet is often considered good for digestion and heart health. Lotus seeds are also believed to help promote better sleep. Lately, I haven't been sleeping very well, so I'm hoping this little bowl of porridge might help me rest a little easier tonight. Bun has been my companion for many years now. No matter how busy the day gets, I never forget his dinner. I also had a cat named Lack. He was such a gentle and affectionate little cat. But not long ago, just last week, he wandered off and never came back. I looked for him everywhere and waited for quite a while, but I never saw him again. I still find myself looking toward the gate sometimes, hoping he'll quietly walk back into the yard like he always used to. Wherever he is now, I just hope he's safe, well cared for, and never goes hungry. Maybe that's also one of the reasons I keep Bun safely in his kennel whenever I'm away from home. I don't want to lose another little friend. I know many of you have been asking about Lack and Bun, and I'm truly grateful for your kindness and concern. This was just another ordinary day in my life here in rural Vietnam. And thank you for keeping me company today. I hope you'll come back and spend another peaceful day with me in the next video. I wish you peace. Please take good care of yourself.